So I know we're a week removed from Four Continents now, but as I promised in my much delayed blog post, I do have a few thoughts left over that I wanted to share with you and maybe have you share in return. Of course, we're headed towards the World Championships, and Four Continents told us a few interesting things about how that competition might shake out. The men's event here was very telling, although not entirely unpredictable. We certainly expected Patrick Chan and Daisuke Takahashi to be the top two here, but it was interesting to note the gap that there still is between a clean Patrick Chan and a relatively clean Daisuke Takahashi. Now, Daisuke had some problems in the long program, but what Patrick Chan has done this season is establish himself in a way that he's going to get the benefit of the doubt. However, here, he didn't need the benefit of the doubt. He laid it down, and while there was a little misstep on one jump towards the end of the program, he hit two quads, one in combination with a triple toe, and that is something that vaults him above Daisuke Takahashi, who at this point has been unable to land a clean quad in his long program. Now, the rest of the field has a lot of work to do to catch up to those two, and it's not really just those two. We'll get to that in a minute, but Ross Minor from the United States, who is not on the world team, although he did finish third at U.S. Nationals, was able to repeat that performance and finish third here at Four Continents as well. It was brought to my attention that the field at Four Continents is significantly less competitive than what we would see and what we will see at Worlds. However, that was used in a way to almost say that Ross Minor didn't deserve to be congratulated for his work and for his efforts and for his medal. I don't think that's fair. And while I think the argument is valid that the U.S. men have a ways to go before they can catch up with the top men in the world, I was very proud of Ross for the way that he was able to come in and compete another solid event, knowing that this was really his last event of the season. I'm in love with his triple axel, and I think it says so much for where he is right now mentally in his ability to compete, to come into a situation like this and not really be intimidated by the situation or the fact that this was his last chance to make a good impression on U.S. figure skating for the season or any of those things. He just came in and did his thing, and I think he's aware of his place in skating right now. He knows he's not at the top. He knows he's not the best that he can be or that he will be, but he sees the steady improvement, and that's where I think it's valid to give credit where credit is due. And I see improvement, and I'm hopeful for the future for Ross Minor specifically. Adam Rippon, his future is a little bit closer to being determined as far as this season goes, because he will be at the World Championships. And the good thing about Adam is that he has not peaked yet this season. He's struggled off and on through the Grand Prix series. He hasn't quite been able to find that rhythm and the comfort level rather in the programs that he has this season. Now, of course, he is trying to incorporate a quad in the long program, and that tends to take a lot of your concentration. He hasn't been able to do it as of yet, and he tried to again put in that quad Salchow in Colorado Springs unsuccessfully. If he is able to do that at Worlds in Nice and skate the rest of his program clean, he can certainly have a top 10 finish. We'll get, again, to that in just a minute. But this was an improvement, a step in the right direction for Adam. He's still not where he wants to be, and certainly he would have liked to come away with a medal here. But I think he's in a good place now, having come off of the confidence boost that Nationals was, and then being able to back that up with another solid event. Not spectacular, but solid. And he's going to have a little bit more confidence and comfort going into a big competition like Worlds, knowing that he's able to put solid programs out there. And again, maybe he's planned it just perfectly to peak at just the right time, because there are elements of his skating that are as good as anyone in the world. And if he can kind of get it all in one place all at the same time, he'll have a fantastic Worlds experience as well. The ongoing battle between Patrick Chan and Daisuke Takahashi, and perhaps more interestingly their fans, on who deserves the better program component scores, took an interesting turn this week. Not necessarily something that we haven't seen before, but just reiterated the fact that the judges in a sport that is still a bit subjective, as much as there are numbers all over and ways that it's supposed to be more specific and substantial and not just a personal opinion, that still comes into play with things like interpretation, choreography, performance and execution. Those kinds of things, there's always going to be a bit of subjectivity involved in that. Now, in the program component scores, Daisuke Takahashi, as much as I love this program, he earned 8.75s as his highest program component mark. Patrick Chan, on the other hand, received 9.25s, 9.75s, even a perfect 10 in interpretation from one judge. So what does that tell us? Well, I posed a question on Twitter and on my Facebook page. If you're not on my Facebook page yet, go to facebook.com/fromtheboards, hit like, and join the conversation. And I asked who could pull off the other skaters' choreography better. Would Patrick Chan skate Daisuke's program as well as he does, or would Daisuke Takahashi skate Patrick's program as well as Patrick does? And there were some very interesting opinions brought out, and some of it was really focused on the program style itself, having much to do with the music. Daisuke's music is very detailed, and it's very difficult to accentuate all of those little details that make it so engaging, while Patrick Chan's music is big and bold and sweeping and smooth and elegant. It may be a little bit easier to do a little less and skate it a little better in Patrick's program than to attack more choreography and more detail and perhaps not skate it quite as smoothly and quite as cleanly. Of course, that's up for debate. I know there are people who think Takahashi skates better than Patrick Chan every time they step on the ice, but obviously the judges disagree. So let me know what you think. Who could pull off the other skaters' program better? So what does this tell us about the World Championships? Well, ultimately it tells us something that we really already knew. Patrick Chan's the favorite. Daisuke Takahashi, probably a favorite for silver, especially with Evgeny Plushenko out of the picture now. The top two scores in the world this season belong to Patrick Chan and Daisuke Takahashi. Interestingly enough, the third highest score, Javier Fernandez. The new kid on the block, so to speak, who reinvented himself with Brian Orser this year, and you know that I love him. You know that I think he's absolutely fantastic, and he comes armed with quads that are as good as anyone in the business. As good as Patrick Chan's quads. He just has to hit them all in the same event. Now, Four Continents obviously only tells us part of the story leading up to Worlds. We don't see all of the main contenders. We didn't see Jeremy Abbott. We don't see the European skaters. But let me just run down this list of the top scorers this season. Patrick Chan, Evgeny Plushenko, who will not be there, Daisuke Takahashi, Javier Fernandez, Artur Gachinsky, Yuzuru Hanyu, Jeremy Abbott, Takahiko Kazuka, Florent Amodio, and Michael Brzezina. Those are the top 10 scores, including Evgeny Plushenko, of this season. I don't know that we can expect all of those top 10 guys to be able to repeat those performances at Worlds, because several of them are not necessarily known for their consistency. For those of you hoping for the U.S. men to regain that third spot at Worlds, Adam Rippon currently has the 15th best score of the season, and that is his Four Continents score. He's going to have to improve on that in order to move up in the rankings, and hope Jeremy does well, better than he's ever done at Worlds, and puts himself in medal contention in order to earn that spot back. They have to have no more than 13 as the total of their placements. If Jeremy moves up towards the podium, Adam's going to have to move up as well. However, the guys in between Adam Rippon and that top 10, of course, Ross Minor, who will not be at Worlds, Thomas Werner, who is inconsistent these days, Nan Song, who has had a solid start to this season, but didn't skate well at Four Continents, didn't necessarily skate well at Nationals, Nobunari Oda, who is brilliant at times and infuriating at times for the mistakes that he makes on the ice. Michael Brezina, Florent Amodio, even Yuzuru Hanyu, they're not known for being consistent. So, all of that to say, there's plenty of opportunity for Adam to move up if he is able to put out clean programs. Clean programs are going to be a must because a lot of these guys above him, they've got the jumps. They don't have the things that Adam Rippon does have, the choreography and the interpretation and the skating skills, all of those things. They don't necessarily have that. But if they have the jumps, they're going to end up with high scores. So, the way things will play out at Worlds may not be entirely dissimilar to the way that we saw them at Four Continents in Patrick Tan and Daisuke Takahashi finishing 1-2. I think everyone kind of expects that, but we've also learned to expect the unexpected. So Javier Fernandez could jump in there. I fully expect Jeremy Abbott to make a run for it. He's not known for great performances at the World Championships, but he's a very different skater this year, and he's very confident, very introspective in that it's all about him being confident in himself and in his programs, and he loves his programs this year, and that makes a huge difference in your confidence. Of course, we didn't get to see him at Four Continents, dealing with a bit of an injury, but he will have one smaller event prior to Worlds, and we'll get to kind of see where he's at there. It's shaping up to be quite the battle for the podium, although the battle for gold, on paper, seems to be Patrick Tan's to lose. We all know the ice is slippery, and no sporting event, no title, nothing is ever won on paper. They've got to leave it on the ice, and we saw it at Four Continents. Hopefully, we're setting up to see it again at Worlds.